A government employee drew lines on a map in 1935. A century later, those lines still decide who gets a mortgage. The maps weren't secret, they hung in federal offices. Real estate agents knew them, banks knew them. And what those maps did systematically mark entire neighborhoods as financial dead zones, shaped who could build wealth and who couldn't. We're not talking about policy from the distant past. We're talking about something recent enough that people who lived through it are still alive. Exhibit 1. In 1935, the federal government created something called the Homeowners Loan Corporation. It sounds boring. It wasn't. This agency issued maps for over 200 American cities. On these maps, neighborhoods were color-coded. Green meant safe for lending. Yellow meant caution. Red meant do not lend here. Red neighborhoods were almost always black neighborhoods or immigrant communities. Let's be concrete about what this meant. If you lived in a red zone and wanted to buy a house, say a modest 2-bedroom for $3,000 back then, good luck getting a mortgage. Banks wouldn't lend there. The government wouldn't insure loans there. You couldn't build equity the way white families in green zones could. Your house stayed a rental. Your neighborhood stayed poor. Exhibit 2. Fast forward to 2024. Take any major American city, Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles, Baltimore. Draw a map of median home values today. Now overlay the 1935 redline maps. The correlation is stunning. Red zones from 90 years ago are still the poorest neighborhoods. That's not coincidence, that's compounding. Here's why: home ownership is how most Americans build wealth. You pay a mortgage instead of rent. Over 30 years you own something, your kids inherit it. Redline neighborhoods were locked out of that wealth machine. Their parents couldn't buy, so they couldn't pass down property, so their kids started from scratch just like their parents did. Exhibit 3. The money gap is measurable. Studies comparing similar neighborhoods, same square footage, same age, similar condition, show that formerly redlined areas sell for 15 to 25% less today than comparable homes in formerly green-coded areas. That gap exists because of where the lines were drawn. And it's not just property value. Redline neighborhoods have less investment in schools, less investment in infrastructure, fewer grocery stores, what researchers call food deserts, more liquor stores, higher crime because of poverty, not because of the people. The lines didn't just affect mortgages, they cascaded. Exhibit 4. Banks didn't stop redlining when it became illegal in 1968. They just got subtler. Researchers have documented that even today, applicants from formerly redlined areas face higher rejection rates for mortgages, controlling for credit score, income, and debt. The map changed its name. It didn't disappear. Think about it this way: if your grandparents couldn't buy a house because of where they lived, your parents started with no inherited property. If your parents had to rent their whole lives, you inherited no down payment. That's 3 generations of compounded disadvantage baked into a single decision made by a government employee with a red marker in 1935. Exhibit 5. The wealth gap between white and black families in America is enormous. The median white family has roughly 10 times the wealth of the median black family. Redlining doesn't explain all of it. Slavery, Jim Crow, and ongoing discrimination matter too. But researchers estimate redlining accounts for a meaningful chunk. It's a policy you can point to, a decision with traceable consequences. Some cities are trying to reverse this. There are reparations programs, community investment funds, and efforts to funnel capital back into formerly redlined neighborhoods. But here's the thing: you can't undraw a line that's had 90 years to shape a city. The infrastructure is broken, the tax base is depleted, the trust in institutions is gone. So when you see a struggling neighborhood in an American city, you're not just seeing poverty. You're seeing the economic consequences of a specific policy decision. You're seeing what happens when a government decides certain people aren't worth lending to. And you're seeing what happens when that decision compounds across generations. The redline maps are public now. You can look them up online, find your city, find your neighborhood, see what color it was. Then ask yourself, how much of what I see today, the wealth, the poverty, the opportunity, traces back to that line? The answer matters because it tells you something about how cities actually work, not by accident, by design. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research. If you want to understand how policy shapes cities and economics, subscribe. We dig into these kinds of structural stories every week. Subscribe. We dig into these kinds of structural stories every week. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research.